Chapter 10. Something Wonderful. Mom gave birth to a baby boy, and he was named Tommy. Life seemed better for Mom for a while, and she loved Tommy. I'd watched her talk to him, cuddle him, and wondered if she was like that with all the kids. Eventually, however, Tommy became more work for her, and my father was always on edge. I figured there were too many kids and not enough money. The football season was over, and eventually the anger at my parents for deserting me took its toll. My concentration failed, and my homework was marked in big red letters, incomplete. I was unraveling so much that I couldn't focus on anything. It felt stupid. "Jimmy, you'd better start studying or Miss Hope will flunk you," Joe warned me. I was afraid he was right. When my father saw my January report card, he told me the year-end report card had better be D-free, or I'd be grounded a week for every D, which meant I would be grounded all summer long. "Why don't you start studying?" Joe asked.
I do, but I don't remember what I read, and it's too late. The year is almost gone. Maybe Miss Hope will give me C's.
If I planned to succeed, I'd have to sit in my seat and be quiet like a mouse. I'd be different, and even try to answer a few questions. Hopefully, poor Miss Hope would see I wasn't misbehaving and give me C's. I overheard her say to another teacher,
There are no bad children, only bad parents.
and I was banking on her remembering that as I approached her at lunchtime.
Miss Hope,
I began.
I thought you might need someone to help you clean the chalkboards after school today. You know, Mr. Collins does that when he cleans the classrooms. Maybe I could empty the wastebaskets? He does that too. Well, I know he doesn't carry your books to your car. Jimmy, if you had studied, you wouldn't be in this predicament. What's a predicament, Miss Hope?
I asked, trying to be cute.
A predicament is a difficult situation.
She said.
Kind of like me having to stay in all summer long because I'm getting grounded for D's and F's?
I asked. She nodded.
Exactly like that. Couldn't you give me all A's so that wouldn't happen? I promise I'll do better next year.
I looked up into poor Miss Hope's tired, wrinkled face. I wanted to reach out and touch her white hair. It was stiff with hairspray, and her wire-rimmed glasses had slid down her nose.
Jimmy, it's not a matter of you doing better next year. You didn't learn what you were taught this year, and you can't understand next year's lessons without passing this year's classes. That sounds horrific, Miss Hope. I want to say that you've been the best teacher since the beginning of time. That's what somebody said anyway. I know who said it, and I'll deal with him later,
She said, and glared.
How are things at home?
She asked. My eyes hit the floor, and I let out a big sigh.
I gotta say, I don't like being there much. Jimmy, I know what happened with Larry Creep, and it's been hard for you. Do the best you can, and we'll see what happens.
She blurted out.
That's great, Miss Hope. I'm counting on you and praying for A's.
She hugged me and told me to run along and eat my lunch. Miss Hope knew? As I walked home, I remembered an odd thing that had happened a week earlier when she told me a weird story about heaven.
Jimmy,
She said.
I want you always to remember your story. Once upon a time, in heaven, the director of earthly assignments sat behind stacks and stacks of paperwork when suddenly the red smartphone rang. Ring, ring, ring. May I help you, God? Yes, God, of course. I'll find Jimmy right away. The director looked out her window and saw you in the playground, swinging upside down on the monkey bars, with your legs wrapped around the top rung, as the younger souls stood at the bottom laughing. The director took off her glasses, put them on the desk, and instant messaged you. You looked at your smartwatch, trotted through the playground like a soldier, and entered the director's office. The director looked through a file and said, "The young couple who will be your parents have lost their way. Your earthly assignment is to help them." "And exactly how am I going to do that?" you asked. The director closed the file and leaned back in her chair. "Love them. But there's no guarantee your parents will respond. It's their free choice. But do it anyway." You nodded and asked, "Is this my only job, ma'am?" "There's more, and it will be a challenge, Jimmy. In the middle of life's difficulties, you'll have to define who you are and your purpose on Earth." You nodded again with a far-away look into the galaxy. After pausing, the director asked, "So, what do you think, Jimmy?" "May I take a day to prepare?" you asked. The director looked at her smartwatch and shook her head no. "You need to be born now." You closed your eyes and asked, "What soul gifts do I have to take with me, ma'am?" "A kind heart, resourcefulness, and a good sense of humor, which you'll need." I don't know. It doesn't sound good," you said. "Do you have anything else? Can I be a great artist?" "Nope," the director said. "This is all we have available. It's going to be great, and you'll love it." "Ugh. May I say goodbye to the young souls?" "Of course," the director said. But she cautioned you. "If your parents don't help you, it will get dangerous. Evil will oppose you, so listen to your soul's voice." The clock chimed the first 12 note, and the director smiled and said, "God will be with you always, Jimmy." The director watched as you said goodbye to the children and dove down to earth as the clock struck midnight. "Jimmy,"
Miss Hope said.
"I believe you will do something wonderful. Always remember the story of you."
I stared into poor Miss Hope's eyes in a flabbergasted state for about 5 seconds. I wanted to say that her story was one of the dumbest fairy tales I'd ever heard, and I didn't believe in Santa Claus anymore. And what are a smartwatch and smartphones? I hesitated but said,
"Okay, sure, Miss Hope."
on the way home, I realized that poor Miss Hope knew about Larry Creep, and then remembered the neighbors had picked me out of the class pictures, and the teachers would have been the ones to show my photo to the cops. Screw me. Miss Hope was the rat.